Hey everybody, thanks for coming today. This is the Neighborhood Council meeting. I'm going to welcome us all here today. So I'm Austin Taylor. I'm a resident in Central City and happy to have you all here. As always, let's go around the room and say your name and why you're here. You know, if you're a resident or if you're representing an organization. So you want to start, Lila?
Hi, I'm Lila. I use she and pronouns. I am a resident about 2 blocks away from here, and I'm also the secretary.
And I'm Troy. I live around second south, northeast. I'm Steve. I'm part of Salt Lake Citizens and Youth and Response City.
Excuse me. I'm Dennis. I work with VOA to mitigate concerns regarding homelessness in the neighborhood.
I'm Cindy, and I'm holding Steve's dog. Oh, I did.
I'm Kevin. I'm resident. I put
You live where?
just force out.
Brianna Riggs, resident and chair.
Gary, and resident, 30 East, about 150 South.
Say, we're together. Good Chief.
I'm Cassie. I'm Cassie, president of East Central City. Actually, I sometimes come visit to see what's going on across the streets.
My name's Martin, and I'm a resident down at 8 South and Station.
I am Justin, and I'm at 30 East, First South.
And I'm Brent Anderson. I live also at 30s and 50 South. So.
I'm Jenny Starley. I'm a resident. I live on approximately 750 South and Roberta Street.
West Chair of the council. Sorry for messing this up. I'm also South and Fifth East, I'm pretty sure. So.
I'm Ben. I live First South and between the second and third.
I'm Annie, and I live at Third South, Third East, and it's also an HOA.
Thanks. Then we had 2 people walk in while we were introducing. So could you guys, Tim, you want to introduce first?
I'm Tim Cosgrove, Mayor's Liaison for District 4.
Cool.
And, I'm Keith Frederick. I live in the Metro condominiums over on 200.
Thanks. Yeah, and then we've got some people online too. They're going to be a little bit quieter, but can you introduce yourselves, please, people online?
Sure. I'll start first. My name is Ronnie Pacetto. I am a public lands planner. And so what brought me here this evening is releasing some design alternatives. So I'm really excited to talk to you about that and some project updates. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'll go next. I'm Katie, and I'm the facility director at Central City Recreation Center.
Thanks, Katie. Let's see, Brandy.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Brandy. I'm with Intermountain Health.
Thanks. And then Dustin.
My name's Dustin. I'm with Public Utilities. I'm going to be talking about our lead and copper program with you guys today.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. On a scale of 1 to 10, how well can you hear this? It's okay.
5 4.
Yeah. So next time I'm going to bring an HDMI adapter. That was my bad for not bringing that. But there will be 2 presentations we're going to hear from people just from my computer. So we'll just have to be quiet during that. So sorry about that.
Is there an HDMI cable up there?
Yeah, I don't have an HDMI plug. You know, Apple always shrinks stuff down. So yeah. So thanks everybody. Brandy's going to be passing around a sign-in sheet. I assume most of you get our email newsletters, but if you don't, that's how we keep everybody informed of what's going on in the neighborhood. So make sure to add your name and email address on there, and we will put you on the newsletter list. So we'll start out. What was that? Sorry. Okay. Let's go with city updates first. And Cindy's got updates for us. So go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry, it's running a little late coming from another meeting. Heads up, construction noise on 400 South. So we got notice just last week. UDOT that owns 400 South will be doing reconstruction from State Street to 1300 East. Most of it is going to be going on from 8 p.m. at night till 7 in the morning. So those of you that live in the apartments are gonna hear a lot of the construction noise. We don't control that, that's UDOT. There is a hotline number, so I'm passing this information around so you can share that with their public information officer. There's also a website for more that you can check on with day-to-day improvements. The construction that will be going on in the daytime is primarily for the pedestrian ramps that they'll be inputting and making it more ADA accessible along 400 South. The mayor submits her budget. As you know, the mayor works with all the departments, all the divisions year round to try to identify the services and the priorities that you wish to receive and that we can meet the demands. The mayor will present that May 7th to the city council. If you want to see it, it's all very transparent. You can get on feedback community website and look at the budget, put your input in. The mayor does still want to hear what you think, what your priorities are. And then the city council will be having a public hearing to hear from constituents May 21st and June 7th. And then they'll be voting on it at the end of June. There's a lot of things to consider this year. There's also a master street lighting plan. So the master plan for street lighting is up. There's a survey on the feedback community website as well. The Department of Public Safety is looking at increasing the feeling of safety in local neighborhoods, improving visibility for pedestrians, cyclists, motorists, reducing vehicle crashes at intersections and crosswalks, enhancing the quality of life, making it more welcoming for the community, increasing economic activity of local commercial districts, creating a notion of place that we all call home, and improve accessibility for those with mobility and visual impairment. It's kind of the objectives for this survey. Any of the surveys that the city conducts, because I know you get bombarded with them, are on the feedback community webpage. So you feel free to check in there periodically, participate in the ones that you want to. If you're not interested on the ones you don't. And then I'm passing around our Good Neighbor Guide. This is a resource from the mayor's office, most commonly used for access to resources. Where do I go for reporting graffiti or picking up a shopping cart? Building permit buildings that are being built. Do they have a permit to be parked in this area? All those phone numbers and making this accessible. And then there's a neighborhood business improvement program, the facade grant that housing stability provides. The amount is up to $50,000 this year, but the targeted area is west of West Temple. So if you have a business that you're looking to improve the facade, make it more aesthetically appealing, which brings in more economic activity to your business. That's a benefit that we receive from mayor, city council, economic development, and housing stability. It's not geared for safety and security plans, so like lighting and cameras don't really equate to that specific grant. But if you want to improve it, we have one on 8th South and 2nd East that received it a number of years ago. We have one I don't know if you've been to Hong Kong Tea House. So it makes it much more attractive to participate. And then I was asked to share a car show this weekend on 13th South and Main Street. And so I'll just, if you're interested in real classic cars, so I'd be happy to share that information, but it's something to do on Sunday, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo.
So the lighting engagement survey hasn't gone out yet, correct?
The lighting survey's open now till the end of May, I believe.
Okay, so I'm not seeing it on the community feedback or feedback
Okay.
community page.
Um,
Yeah, so,
Okay, thanks for letting me know.
Yeah.
Make sure they get it on their feedback on our community webpage. I have you can have a link to it, but it's very arcane to tell you those numbers and drivers to pass this around and you can pick it up that way.
sounds good.
Any questions for me? Thank you for my time.
Do you apply for those building improvement grants if you're not West and West Central?
No, they targeted, the map is on the targeted area that we have it available. It seems like it went up to State Street, south of 9th South. The ballpark area was included in on that up to State Street, but past 9th South to downtown Central City and downtown area is west of West Temple.
Yeah, I double checked, and there's no part of Central City that's eligible for the neighborhood business improvement program this year, unfortunately.
They try to geographically help different areas.
Years. Yeah, last year, we were part of it, and I think some of our like 9th South businesses by Macon district were eligible. I don't know if any applied, but we were part of it last year. Okay, thanks, Tim. Do you have any other? That's it.
There's a lot going on with the National Hockey League, as you all know.
Yeah. Yeah, when Ava comes, she'll tell us.
Okay.
Good. Thanks. So we have people from the Heart team here. Did you want to do any announcements?
Not really, any updates, we got a resource fair next Friday, here at the library. That's about it.
Okay.
Is that the usual time? Is it like 9?
Yeah, 9:30, 12:30, yeah, we'll get around 8 and then we'll start at 9:30.
Where is it at?
Library, sorry, yeah, so we'll be alternating between here and, Pioneer Park in November, so the second Friday of each month.
Okay, thanks. Let's move on to our neighborhood council committee updates. So we've got a few committees that are active. We've got transportation, we've got neighborhood watch in the northern end of Central City, events, land use. So can we start with neighborhood watch group, 30s, first and second?
I'll have them.
And clarify, we're calling it the Community Care Coalition.
Community Care Coalition.
The neighborhood watch kind of didn't really encompass everything that we're trying to do. It seems more targeted towards more rural areas, and neighborhood watch as a program is a little bit antiquated and falling apart across the nation. So we took it upon ourselves to be a Community Care Coalition, which seems to be more in line with what it is that we're doing. We still got some problems to try and follow up with the district attorney's office and being able to get things prosecuted all right, in some of the crimes that we've had in our neighborhood. But we have had police file charges on some burglaries and things like that. Went and bought some steel yesterday for Studio Road and be able to put up some more barricades, so we have some of the kind of the areas that are more like little cubby holes that have a tendency to collect bodily fluids and vomits, so that hopefully those places can remain a little bit more clean. And I'd say I talked with somebody just on the street today, Shauna, she was really talking about a lot of the same stuff that we talked about here, that, tried to help her to understand that we're kind of all on the same page, that a lot of times there's a lot of disconnect between people that are unsheltered or spending a lot of time on the street, and they think that there's a lot of opposition because of like the police action and things like that. So I found it very interesting that she had written up quite a long thing that she was trying to explain, and she wanted to make a proposal, but it's not quite there yet. And, tried to explain here, but we're very much like this meeting that we're having here tonight. She was considering attending it, and yeah, so we're a city of people that think very much the same, and it would be nice if we could start to see some of all of that energy that we all share.
And we have a walk, not long, but like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, you guys have the trash pickup.
Yeah, we're doing
Yeah,
more
we
of
did
us more regularly and stuff.
Yeah.
And they're usually, they've been down on 30s around those villages.
And also the security that's been hired for those apartments that are over there on 30s. They got some media attention. They've made it very clear that they do not want to participate in anything neighborhood watch. They're going to do their things.
We're reaching out to, what will happen, but.
Okay.
We're gonna try to.
Since last time we met, there's been quite, a few, at least 2 or 3 news articles about the situation on the ground, third east, first south, second south. And it's put pressure on the landlords, it's called them out specifically for mismanaging the place. Has it felt like there's been any improvement since that immediate attention and a little bit?
There's been security, and I know that we had some inspections that were happening there. At the time of the inspection, there was like a frantic kind of scattering and trying to clean things up as quickly as they could. But no real significant changes. Just there was blue on the back stuff just there.
And I take pictures regularly, so I can see where the progress is or it's not happening, like if they're actually cleaning up and when they are, so.
I think as long as the owner of the property is blaming all of the problems on the homeless, that probably will not occur. Yeah, my guess.
Go ahead.
Is your crime directly related to unsheltered population?
No,
Okay.
not at all. I think that the unsheltered population concentration is more of a symptom of a lot of crime and poor living conditions.
Sorry, do you know the cause of your crime? As far as what's stitches?
I mean, that's things like, I think just probably won't show it, but I think there's a mass influx of blues in our neighborhood now, which is like this synthetic Chinese. Yeah, very, very, very cheap. We're normally like an OxyContin pill that somebody would take would be like $50 on the street. Like these are $5. They're mostly fentanyl.
They're smoking them on
They're smoking oil, tinfoil, straw. The heroin addicts in my neighborhood are complaining that it's hard to get heroin now because the blues are so prevalent. And so from what I understand, like as soon as you exhale a blue, you immediately need another one. And them being $3 to $5 a piece, they're it's a highly addictive problem.
And just to go back to crime, is this, how are the blues directly affecting your crime rates? Do we know that?
Just because, again, there's that financial incentive that if you don't really have the financial means and you'll resort to crime in order to be able to support that happening.
I think one good example is when you were video recording, in the actual building, there was individuals in the hallway smoking.
Yeah, smoking blues directly in the hallway. And
And people mention it on the street all the time, they offer it to you or ask if you have it. Anyone, they ask anyone, it's really unusual, so.
Yeah, if you look at news reports of things that happen in the area, like police arrests, so like the police just arrested someone at the 7-Eleven the other day.
There's been a lot of big busts recently.
All sorts of drugs and weapons that they had on them, so there's a lot of stuff going on that they're trying to get solved.
One more last question. So your neighborhood watch is watching out for multiple things, but this crime specific when it comes to drug addiction?
I'd say that's why we haven't really adopted that neighborhood watch monitor, which is a community care coalition where we really try to, occupy our outside space and engage with the community, pick up litter, try to line people up with resources when people are looking for resources. Oftentimes they've they're kind of apathetic about the resources that the city has to offer. They're not really ready for that, but sometimes they are. We've got a few, great success stories where people have, kind of reached rock bottom and because we've been there to encourage them, they've said that a lot, so.
Just a positive example, like our last cleanup, we had 2 to 3, and I can't remember how many, at different times in our cleanup joined us.
Yeah.
Not just say thank you, but actually asked if they could contribute. They took garbage bags, start talking about, things in the
It's a great way
neighborhood.
to meet people.
So it was a community building event, just, and again, I think it's just knowing your neighbor, asking, hey, what's your name? There was some positivity, I think.
Even in talking with Shauna today, one of the things, that I hear a lot with people that are kind of like in encampments and things like that, that we usually try to break up, that there's usually a really strong sense of community between people that are living in these very harsh conditions. And I think that we could take that as a great example, that we could always be closer community.
And if I could add something, please correct me if I'm wrong, but we're not trying to like criminalize the housing status. We're trying to crack down on legit crimes that are happening, like vandalism, burglary, breaking and entering into apartments, using drugs inside of apartment buildings, assault, violence. Like these are things that are actually happening in that area that no one should have to live with. Right? No one should have to feel unsafe in their neighborhood. We don't want these things happening at all in this neighborhood. And so we're doing what we can to get it out of here. We don't want it here.
I mean, I do wonder a little bit, right, like vandalism, burglary, obviously, but like if somebody has a drug addiction disorder, I worry about wanting to expel that entirely, because ultimately, if you have a drug addiction disorder and we don't necessarily have the resources to like help everybody through a drug addiction disorder right away, folks need a place to safely use.
As long as they're not committing crimes.
As long as they're not, well, but like, so technically drug possession is a crime.
Right.
A big thing today in that conversation I was having with Shauna was the fact that I don't think there are very many individuals who prefer to use blues as a way to self-medicate with an opiate habit.
Yeah.
It's just that it's readily available, that they don't really have much choice because of like I said, the market's flooded with the product and they really don't have much choice. And it's the most affordable way to go, but it increases the addiction problem so much more. And again, it seems to be a product that is specifically designed to victimize the people that are most vulnerable.
Of course, I'm not saying like, oh, like let's support your neighborhood drug dealer. I'm just saying, I worry a little bit, right? Like about somebody just said like, using drugs in apartments, and it's like, well, it's better if somebody is using in this place where they are at least a little bit sheltered.
Well, they were using them in the hallway, and I gotta say,
that's not
if
great.
you ever smell the smell of blues, it smells like burnt rubber. Like I just wonder, like the secondhand smoke that I personally partake in every single day. If there were people doing it in my hallways, that would be much more severe.
Deeply.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next committee. Okay, we'll finish committee updates, and then if you have a quick, 2-minute announcement, we can make time for that too. So let's turn over to transportation, if that's okay.
Yeah. So I'll talk about 2 things. The first is the capital improvement program. And so we had some confusing results, but it sounds like our 600 South Safety Improvements capital improvement program submission. It looks like they will not be funding it this year. I was told that it might get a couple of tries at that from the mayor, but we scored above middle, which I think is good. But I was told they only funded like 2 community submitted CIPs, so it was not easy to get the CIP to work. But so it's not official yet, but it's like I think it's pretty certain that ours isn't funded, unfortunately. The second one is the sidewalk closures. So there has been some movement from the city, and it's very unclear who's actually doing this. So they may be changing the fee structure to increase the fee for closing sidewalks and slightly increase the fee for closing vehicle lane. I still have other concerns. Just changing that fee structure won't do anything. So we still want them to provide alternative sidewalks and lighting throughout possible when they close them. So we're still planning to send out a letter asking for those things, and also to make sure that we follow through with changing the fee structure. Yeah, are there any questions on that?
Yeah, so the contact person, I think, for the sidewalk closures and the safety around construction sites is Orion Goff, who's in community neighborhoods. And I recommend you get in touch with him and nudge him because he's supposed to be in the whole program. It's on my list to nudge. And then the other thing is the CIP process. We went through this with the proposal jointly sponsored by 5 community councils for the Liberty Park Greenhouse and the Jordan Greenhouse last year. And we got turned down and we were just a few points below the threshold. And I am so frustrated with this government that rubber stamps one decision after another. It was just like, you know, the committee's recommendation on CIP is approved by the mayor as it was, and then the city council goes along. Last year, we pushed and pushed and pushed on the greenhouse, and we got it this year right at the top. So I'm just really frustrated with the CIP process. It's a quite a waste of time. The second thing is that I think Nick Ruff is going to make a grammar request this week for updated accident data at the intersection of 50th and 6th South that will follow up on grammar we made 15 months ago to get updated data. So
it's very unclear how we do this process. So it feels like a black box.
that's
We clarify that. Even though you did get a recommendation from the CCIP board or the mayor, it's still alive until the city council actually makes a call.
Right.
So rally people, we can do this.
yeah. Talk to Ava.
Yeah, I will need help.
Push.
I need other people reaching out, because I reach out to the city about a lot of things. So they hear from me a lot.
I think Ava and Darren are in the best shot.
Yeah, if they make it their pet projects, because basically when it comes in front of the council, you know, sure, they're gonna say they're 100% close with it.
Yeah.
But they gotta make their stand too on some things within their districts, so you've got a chance of being that project.
Yeah.
Troy, could you maybe send an email, it could be sent to all of us, just with some canned language around that, and we can check.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are 2 hearings before the city council, and the mistake we made last year with the greenhouse is that we didn't get in front of the city council until the 2nd. So that first hearing on the CIP process, which will occur in the summer, it's really important to pave the way and be there. Make a noise.
Might also be, and I don't know the reasons behind this, I'm just assuming or presuming. There's a lot of construction left in the funding our future general obligation bond. I'm under the understanding that 5th South and 6th South is still a priority for that. That has to happen before the end of 2025. So they may do it without CIP funding. So it's not that it's not a priority, or it's not that it's not happening. It's that they look at all of those things and how they apply or don't apply.
I heard chatter about 600 South that they were already kind of looking around some project there, but I've heard that about many things from transportation. I've been told things about Wonder East that are not true. So
Thanks, Troy. So just quickly to touch on a land use thing. So today we met with a partner from J. Fisher Companies, which is a residential real estate developer in the area, and they purchased the former Jewish synagogue that's on 4th South between 2nd South and 3rd South, which is thank you, 4th East, 2nd South, 3rd South. Yes, you guys know what I'm talking about. So they purchased that. It's a local landmark, so it can't be torn down without city approval. And what we've been told is, so they purchased that along with the parking lot next to it. And what they're going to do is behind the synagogue, there's an addition that's not architecturally significant that they can demolish. So they'll demolish that portion. They'll sell the synagogue to, this is really cool, a museum operator that wants to operate a Jewish art museum inside of it. Deal's not done yet, but they're pretty certain it's gonna happen. And then in the parking lot next to it, they're going to build an apartment building. It's like 6 stories, you know, pretty typical wood frame construction, but if you see, you'll see the renderings soon enough, but it's high quality. You know, they've got stone, they've got brick, they've got cool arches. It's a really beautiful apartment building. When you guys see it, I think you'll like it. So that's something. Any other land use updates?
Just real quick, I think this could take a lot of time, but there's proposed rezone for a hotel on 300 South and 300, between 300 and 200 East. Oh, I just had
You want me to make a couple comments on it?
if you want to make it real quick.
Okay, you know, right now it's a parking lot, it's been a parking lot for many, many years. They're proposing a 12.5 story stone wall with no windows that they can see through from the inside, and having all kinds of planning and things on the inside, including bars, hotels, buses and stuff driving through. It doesn't really seem possible what they're proposing, but they're pushing for this zoning change so they can get this. This is happening at the same time a developer is trying to put a 12.5 story building with no rear yard setbacks and no open space on the ground floor. So these two things would be really detrimental to the block and to the light around it and all kinds of natural stuff. So we hope to get some help from the community on the zoning request and also at planning commission on the overland project when that happens.
This is basically downtown, correct?
Yeah, so they want to rezone from RMU to D1. And there is some D1 zoning on the block already next to it, but the difference is a 45-foot height limit versus an unlimited height limit. And so you guys can, in our newsletter, there's a link where you can go on the city website and submit your feedback. So we're not going to tell you like what your opinion should be, but if you want to share your opinion, you should do that on there.
I'll show you just one second. Do you want to say the Epic Tavern? Here for that,
Sure.
you just want to real quick.
Yeah, so I live on Edison Street between 8th and 9th South, and Epic Brewing is currently trying to build a beer garden in their back lot, which the neighborhood is opposed to, pretty congruently, I would say. I'm, I guess, the representative as the house that would be right next to the beer garden. Yeah, we're trying to fight it, at least in its current format, for quite a few different reasons. But interestingly, it's only made possible because in 2012, they requested and got approved rezoning from R2 to D2 in the back of the 2000s on our street. So, yeah.
But at the same time, you described to us that your core concern is that they don't have a plan that you can sort of work with them to try and figure out a way to mitigate their impacts rather than just having a different period.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So they have been going through the process. They've submitted a few plans at this point, but to date, they haven't employed any professional design help to actually sort through all the problems that we as a neighborhood are asking them to think through. And it's evolved each time they have submitted their plans. I'll say, typically hand drawn, without any actual dimension or anything like that. So that's our biggest concern, is that we'd like to work with them. We have worked with them a little bit, but at this point, it doesn't feel like to us, at least, that they've thought through all of the different components of the plan or the request to do it.
And the public feedback period is still open on that one too. And so it's on our newsletter, so feel free to go over there and submit your comment. We're gonna move on just for time's sake. We've got to get to next agenda items. So from the fire department, did you have something you needed to share with us?
I'll just take 1 minute. So thanks for having me. My name is Chief Shumway. I run as battalion chief out of Station 1. So The crew there ran 450 calls last month, just in this area, which includes medicals and fires and sort of emergencies. So I just want to let you know those numbers. The other thing I want to let you know is that our crews will be out this spring, and we already have been for the last couple of weeks turning our hydrants. And what we do, and sometimes citizens don't necessarily understand why we do that, but the hydrants and they get rusted and stuck. And so we go, we turn them, we flush them because all the sediment ends up coming out first. And so instead of all that sediment going into our fire engines that are very expensive, and then they'll end up ruining the pump and we have to switch the pumps out, we'll go and we'll flush them real quick. It does put water onto the ground, onto the pavement, but what happens is that water gets into the drains, it goes right back into the water system. So we're not wasting as much water as you might think. And so anyways, I just wanted to let you know that's kind of what we're doing. We'll be doing it for the next month or so. And we're just making sure that our hydrants are operable, that we're letting the water department know the ones that are broken, and then we're not putting out those sediment and rocks into our expensive fire engines paid for by you. So we appreciate everything you do and all the feedback that you give us as a fire department. And that's all I got for you. Okay, thanks. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, we're gonna turn the time over now. So we're gonna talk with, I think Dustin is going to present. Dustin is with the city's Public Utilities Department. And I'm gonna move the computer just into the center so you can hear him better. But move this.
I got a presentation for you. If I can share my screen, I can show it.
Yeah. You know, it's gonna be small.
Oh, okay. So let's see if I can get her to come up here. It says disabled for sharing my screen. Do you want me to just go ahead or do you want me to try to share the presentation?
I'll try it now.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
So his presentation will come up. I can scoot this closer if that's better.
Make it so he's the only one on the screen.
Yeah, it'll, when he shares the screen, it'll do that. Let me flip it through, it'll be easier to see. Does it let you share yet?
Let's see, you got it on there yet?
Yeah, it's coming. Okay, that's as good as we're gonna get today, guys.
Alrighty. Oh, did I lose it?
And if you
All
want to email it to us, we can send it out later too.
No, that's fine. Or yeah, I'll do that as well. Yeah, my name's Dustin White. I work with Public Utilities. Appreciate you guys having me today. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. I used to live in Central City, so I have appreciation for you guys' neighborhood. I'm going to talk about our lead and copper program, which I manage, and some new federal rules that have been approved by the federal government that might impact some of your customers, and they might see some outreach from us. So we just wanted to kind of give you a heads up of what we're doing out there. Just a quick overview. I'll go over lead and drinking water, how it gets into your water. Background and timeline of the Federal Safe Drinking Water Act and lead and copper rule. Some of the commitments the city has to help our residents out and mitigate the impacts of lead. And then I have a survey that we've just been putting out to a lot of customers, trying to get information from them. It's a quick 6-question survey. So you can QR code it if you're able to on this screen and fill it out or tell your neighbors, and then I'll have some time for some questions. So firstly, lead in drinking water. How does it get into your drinking water? Usually it comes from older plumbing as water sits or passes through old pipes that are made of lead or have lead in them that can leach into your drinking water. Particularly older pipes and faucets that are older than 2014 have more lead content in them. In the early 80s and 70s, they had copper pipe that was joined with lead solder. One of the big things that we're focusing on right now, and the EPA has been focusing on, the federal government, is lead service lines. Have been identified as a large contributor to lead in drinking water. So I'll go over that a little bit more later in the presentation. And then brass faucets and fixtures, like I said, that were before 2014 have higher lead content. And then galvanized pipe also has shown to have lead in it. If it was ever downstream of lead, that galvanized pipe can sometimes collect lead on the inside of it. Most people know that lead's not good for you, so this is just some of the health impacts that there are. Children are especially vulnerable under the age of 6 because of their developing brains, but if kids are exposed to lead, they can have behavioral issues, decreased bone density, become anemic, have abnormal kidney function, and have nervous system damage. Adults are more at risk for Alzheimer's, memory loss, lack of concentration, high blood pressure, some digestive issues, impacts on their kidneys and their nervous system. The one thing that we like to stress with the health effects is just there are no safe levels of lead that have been identified for consumption. So just like to tell everybody that. This is the service line that I was talking about earlier. These are really the only lead pipes we've seen in our system. And the reason why these are so important is because the new rule mandates that we identify all these pipes in our system, and we don't really know. It's split up in ownership between the city and the private homeowner. And we have a lot of information on what's on the city side, but we don't have a lot of information on the private homeowner side. So if you can see what's highlighted in yellow here, that the ownership's divided by the meter. And so we have a lot of records from that pipe going from the main to the meter, but we don't have a lot of information on the private side. So we're kind of doing stuff like this, coming out, talking to community councils, particularly places that have older homes in them, to have customers hopefully self-identify what type of pipe they have. If it is found that you have lead in your home, there's a few kind of simple ways you can reduce your impact. The biggest that we found from sampling is just basically flushing your line before you use it. If you have a lead line and you run your water for a little while, our distribution system is lead free, so there's not lead in that water typically. So just running that water for a minute or two, if you have lead pipes, will typically flush out some of those metals that'll collect in there. Regularly cleaning out your faucet aerators, the screen on the end of your faucets, sometimes will collect metal debris in there. And if you have lead pipe, that can have an impact. We recommend only using cold water for cooking and preparing baby formula. Hot water heaters sometimes can have those metals collect in the water heater. So it's a little bit better to use that. If you do have lead pipes, consider using a certified filter for lead removal. And what we're doing right now is if we find that somebody has a lead service line, we give them one for free and offer a sample for free. And then once you identify them, the best thing is to remove those lead pipes if you can. And then if you've sampled or it's shown that you have high levels of lead, then sometimes an alternative source is best, like bottled water. And then we like to remind everybody that boiling water does not remove lead. A lot of people think boiling water is kind of a fix-all, but it actually makes the metal a higher concentration if you boil it. So just a quick history and timeline of this new EPA rule or revised rule. Lead was banned in 1986 in plumbing fixtures. In 1991, they promulgated the original lead and copper rule. We've been kind of under that same rule till 2014. They had the Flint water crisis and kind of got a lot of national attention on lead pipes and its impact. They passed a new rule called the Lead and Copper Revisions Rule in 2021, and it's kind of given us a deadline of October of this year to get in line. And then they also introduced that they're going to be further improving that rule in October of 2024 of this year. So I mentioned briefly October 16th, 2024. This is our compliance date to get in compliance with that new rule that I mentioned. And one of the big things is inventorying those service lines. We need to identify all the service lines in our system. And I think when we first started this, we had 99,000 unknown service lines. So it's kind of a big push to identify those. We're down to about 55,000, and hopefully by this deadline, we'll be down to 25,000, but that's still a lot of pipes to identify. So we're hoping for some interaction with the public. We have to do some compliance sampling. This is something that's part of the original rule, but it's a little more enhanced, and we'll be sampling, trying to identify those service lines. A lot of required communications. If we ever have exceedances for lead, we have to get communications out in a timely manner. And then another thing is we have to sample all the school and daycare facilities. The state passed a rule in 2023 where they were required to sample all the schools for lead, but they left the daycares as optional. So we have a big push that we're going out and sampling all the daycares and childcare facilities within our water district. Our commitment, some of the things that we're prioritizing, one is children, just because they're the most at risk, children under 6. We've also put a big priority on environmental justice and kind of historically underserved communities, and then older homes, because that's where we mostly find these. the rule banned it in 1986, but we haven't found lead pipes any newer than 1950, but the majority of these are older than 1930. So, if you know folks with older homes and they don't know what type of pipe they have, we encourage them to reach out to us. Some of our historical efforts to mitigate the effects of lead, or anytime the city finds a lead line, we replace it. We notify homeowners about their private lead line when we find them, and sometimes we'll leave a hole excavated if it's cheaper for them to have a contractor come out. And then we're on triennial sampling for the original rule because our water and our distribution system has been so low for lead, and our historical sampling has been so low. We're on reduced monitoring to every 3 years, which will change when this new rule starts. So some of the services that we provide to our customers right now, if anybody doesn't know what their service line material is and wants it identified, we'll come out and inspect it for free. If your home is identified as being at risk of having lead or galvanized that could be impacted from lead, we'll sample it for free for lead. And then, as I mentioned, if you replace a lead service line or identify as having a lead service line, we have some filters, just those pitcher filters that we give to customers that they can have for free. It's good for up to 6 months. So some of the things with public engagement and education, we have that survey that I mentioned. I'll put the QR code up here in a sec. It's just a 6-question thing where you can walk people through to identify their own. We've been going to community events to let folks know. We've updated our website. We have some materials. So some people may see door hangers or get letters from us in your community. And kind of the big question always is they think it's either kind of fake or they think we're trying to sell them something. Right now, all of our services are free, and honestly, we're just trying to help people find these and mitigate their risks. So this is the QR code I mentioned, and I'll mail this over to your council. But they can just scan this QR code or go to our website and fill it out. It's 6 questions, and it'll help us. If you know what your material is, it'll help us knock out some of those thousands that we don't know about. So it's kind of the easiest way to identify stuff right now is if customers know what their material is, they can let us know and we can kind of take it off the list. And if it's lead, we can help them mitigate the risk from it. And if we have some time, I can take questions from any of you. This is just some of our contact info. We've created a hotline, 844-LED SLC, if anybody has any questions or wants to participate in sampling or inspections. And then our email's lead@slcgov.com. And then our website's up here. It's just slcleadandcopper.com.
Thanks, Dustin. Yeah, we can do 2 questions, and looks like Ben's got a question for you.
If I remember right with the Flint, Michigan issue, it wasn't so much that that there were lead supply lines, but it was that the chemical treatments that were used on the water had changed, and therefore the natural buildup that was on the lead pipes that kept them safe for a long time, it made them unsafe. Are we in the same kind of a danger here with the potential changes in water treatment that would affect our lead intake?
No, that's a great point. You kind of nailed it right on. And it's something I should mention whenever Flint comes up. We have completely different water chemistry than some of those back east. We have really hard water and high water quality sources coming in. One of the things that they had an issue was they switched water sources from a high quality water. It was Lake Huron. And they switched to the Flint River, which was not as high quality and more corrosive. So what happens is on these older pipes, a lot of times you'll get calcium carbonate buildup on the inside, which is just calcium and magnesium. It's the same hard water you see on all your kind of faucets and fixtures that probably annoys you guys, but it kind of creates a little bit of a safety barrier on the inside of those pipes. So we're in a little bit different situation than them. They had switched water sources to that corrosive water. And then because it had so much bacteria in it, they had to treat it with more chlorine, which made it more corrosive. So it was kind of a recipe for disaster, what they were doing there. Historically, our water quality has always been really good. We never have lead in our distribution system, but where we can see hits is typically on these private systems where it sits in the pipe for a long time. And even those are relatively low in comparison to some of these East Coast cities that have what I would say is a much larger problem. But we want to just kind of be ahead of this, and we know we found them in our system, and we're trying to be proactive and find them and give some folks some resources to help out.
We have any other questions?
Is there a collaborative effort going on with the county or with the health department, just because water lines don't always equate just to the city? they go outside of the city at county water lines. Don't always just serve county, sometimes they go into the city.
Yeah, so we have to account for all the cities that we provide water to. So it's not just Salt Lake City proper. So Mill Creek, Holiday, some parts of Sandy, Cottonwood Heights. There's some water that we have out there. Fortunate for us, there's not as many old homes in those areas, so we haven't seen as much out there. But there is an effort. We've met with the county health department, the lead paint folks. We've met with several entities. We've presented at city council, a lot of these community councils that everybody kind of knows what we're working on. And yeah, we've reached out to the health department several times, and sometimes that's how we find out about stuff. Somebody will give us a call and their kid tested high for lead, and they're trying to find out all the factors that it could be. So, they give us a call, we'll come do a free inspection and, help them identify what their pipe is and hopefully rule out the water as the source of lead, which luckily to this point on those phone calls, we haven't seen any that actually had lead pipes, mostly lead paint that we'd seen at this point. But yeah, we are working with a lot of those other entities to get this word out and provide some resources.
Thank you, Dustin. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you guys taking the time to let me talk to you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so next we've got Noah, who is the new executive director of the main library that we're in today. We're always so happy to be here. And Noah's got a presentation, so I'm gonna, and he's letting us use his little USB adapter thing, so I'm gonna plug that in.
All right, well, this will just take a second to set up. Yeah, thank you all for having me. So visiting all of the neighborhood councils as a new executive. So I'm the executive director of the Salt Lake City Public Library System. So that includes the downtown branch as well as our 7 other branches throughout the city and the city limits. I'll tell you a little bit about me, talk a little bit about what's going on throughout the library system, some exciting things that are happening here, right, at the main library, and then a little bit of where we're headed in the future. But the other thing I'm kind of excited about is I just bought a house in Salt Lake, and it's, I think, a part of Europe. So I think you all are my district.
Where is it?
So I'm on 12th. It's on 12th East in between 1200 East in between. No, is that not true? In between First South,
Second South.
and South.
So East. So that's East Central neighborhood. That's close. So close. A little bit fancier. Little bit fancier than our neighborhood.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, good to slum it with you all, and okay. Oh, you got it. Okay.
It's
great.
going.
Awesome.
Projector, I just turned it on. So
Oh, you did. Okay. I don't know how this stuff works.
should be going.
Great.
Yep, and I can just click for you.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you. Well, yeah, just a little bit in terms of introduction. Again, my name is Noah Baskett. I grew up in Salt Lake City. My first house was one of the little bungalows up by Judge. Then we moved out a little bit further south into Holiday. And I moved up to the Pacific Northwest to go to college, and I've been up there for 22 years before moving back home. My wife was from Salt Lake too. My background is not in libraries. Most of my work has been in working in community-based nonprofit coalitions, trying to connect community-based organizations with public agencies, with businesses and faith communities to address unmet needs in cities. I did a lot of that work up in the Northwest, but also did that work kind of in cities throughout the North. So with the city libraries, real emphasis on connecting people across difference to address unmet needs, to connect people with both information, kind of the bread and butter of libraries, but also opportunities. There's just a lot of alignment, I think, with what I care about and what the city library is about. So, yeah, we're gonna talk. We'll talk a little bit about what's happening, and then give you an update on what's going on upstairs in this building, and then share a little bit about where we're headed. Firstly, some exciting news. So this precedes me. I started in January, so I'm only 4 months in. But last fall, do you mind if I hit this? So you don't have to. I'll just move forward. Last fall, we did some surveys, both of the city at large as far as their perceptions of their public library system, as well as looking specifically at patrons. And we came up with some pretty exciting news. When you look at residents as a whole, whether they have ever showed up to a library, if they have a library card or not, just everybody, 91% of residents regard their city library system as a trusted institution. When you all think about the levels of trust at any level, particularly for institutions, it's all-time low, right? Pretty remarkable that 91% of the residents of the city actually trust library systems. I think we always come a little bit below the fire department, still pretty good. When you look at specifically our patrons, 94% of our patrons rate their experience as either positive or excellent. So again, we're pretty proud of that. People really love, Salt Lakers really love their library system. And this is a stat that is pretty high for cities of a similar size. Almost 3/4, 74% of residents in Salt Lake City have a library card. You may have seen this in the news. I have no idea where they got the statistic. This was published. It was a study that the Deseret Times promoted and published that put this particular building, the city library's downtown branch, as the 15th most popular library in the world. They had, there was a number of kind of statistics that went into this. I don't really know, but that's still pretty impressive, right? It's kind of in the same company as the Library of Congress, the Vatican Library, some of these really large, 15th most popular libraries in the world. Pretty impressive. Some other kind of exciting, interesting stats, especially kind of as we're seeing a recovery post-COVID, right? Where, as you would expect, numbers dip down on every sort of measure of how people were using the city library system. Over the last 12 months, over 1,100,000 specific patron visits. Pretty remarkable. That's a 6.3% increase over last year. Every day throughout the library system in the city, we see over 3,000 patrons come in and visit. And you can see that it's kind of been driven particular by 3 branches. That includes the main library, where year over year, we've seen about 10% increase in attendance. So people are coming back to the library. It's exciting. People are looking for the kind of connection, right? The kind of physical connection that you don't necessarily get online, that people were really starving for during the pandemic. Okay, update on the roof project. I don't know, have you all heard a little bit about what's going on upstairs? Okay, yeah, so this has been a pretty expensive project. It's also been a really necessary one. I have been told, I remember coming back visiting from college when this was built. This building was built 20 years ago. And apparently on the day that it opened, there were leaking issues with the roof. Can you believe that? So a really incredible building, remarkable architecture, but with that kind of remarkable architecture, there's just some unique challenges that come with it. So we've known for a long time that we've needed to do waterproofing. As we've done a lot of excavation, we've learned a lot of things about how things were engineered the first time around. And so we're excited that this is going to be a really watertight seal on the top to not have to worry about those kind of waterproofing issues, water leakage issues in the future. But we also took the opportunity to ask the city, the community, you all as residents, given that we're going to be doing this big job, how can we make it better? And we heard a lot around the desire to be able to use the library roof in a lot of different ways. It's, my opinion, it's the best public view in the city, right? You don't really have a view of both downtown and the Wasatch. It's available for free to the public anywhere in downtown. So there was a desire both to be able to access it just for personal use, whether it's to read a book or personal reflection, as well as some of the things that we've used it before, programming like yoga, morning yoga, that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of enhanced landscaping that we've been able to do. So you'll see lots of trees for shade in the summer months. Yeah, it's going to be really, really beautiful. Our plan is to open this fall. We don't have a set date yet. We don't want to disappoint you all, but the hope is to open up sometime this fall. And as soon as we do have a date, we'll definitely share it with you all.
a tour?
Yeah, right now it's a little dangerous.
Well, I mean, not right now.
We did, if you follow, city politics, we did have to, amend our budget to make sure that we had enough, funding to complete the project. And so as part of that, we had our city council members come out and see an update of the project, but heck, let's get you all, a private tour when it's safe and able to do so. That would be great. Yeah, I'd love to coordinate that. This is just a little bit of kind of what we're up to, and things that you may or may not be aware of that are some of the non-traditional aspects of what your public library system is doing. This last year, over 3,000 public programs. So this is in addition to all the work we're doing in providing access to information, right, through e-materials and print materials in all of these different categories. Arts and creativity, being healthy together, literacy and education, and civic engagement and citizenship. So hopefully you've had a chance to visit some of the programs. We're doing a lot of really innovative stuff to be able to meet needs of people that come in to the library, to connect with one another, and to meet opportunity to address needs that we're seeing from our patrons that are coming to visit our facilities. An example of the arts and creativity, hopefully you get a chance to, we do a number of art exhibits at every single one of our branches throughout the city on an ongoing basis. And the one that's going on right here in the lower urban room, that's taking stories about the Great Salt Lake. It's connected to a Salt Lake podcast. I can't remember what it's called, but it's really cool. So as you leave this meeting tonight, make sure you check that out. You can pull out your phone and use QR codes. And each of the photographs is connected to a story.
Is it Utah Stories podcast?
No, it's called like Salty something.
Salt Lake?
No.
It's literally right.
You'll see it.
Oh, okay.
You'll see it. Check it out as you walk out these doors. This is one you may or may not know of, but our 24/7 digital library that you have access to at any time, night or day. If you haven't taken advantage of some of these resources as a library card holder, I would really encourage you to do that. We have a ton of ebooks as well as e-magazines. You have access to the Salt Lake Tribune for free, the Deseret News for free, the New York Times for free. Coming next year, it's looking like we'll be able to offer the Wall Street Journal for free. All that for free. Another service that we signed up this last year is called Canopy. It's a ton of really quality films that you have access to for free as a library card holder. Has anybody used Canopy before with a K? Yeah, some really good stuff. There you go. Yeah, I mean, it pays for itself pretty dang quick. It's free, so. Homework help. We have a lot of great, if you have kids that need access to homework help, there's a lot of free resources through our digital library as well. And then language learning. I don't know if anybody has ever bought Rosetta Stone or you've looked to buy Rosetta Stone. It's pretty dang expensive. So you have access to those resources for free as a library card holder. So we're always looking to improve that. I will also mention, as we are proposing our budget to City Council for this next year, one of our big increases is around increasing our digital library. You may have had some frustration trying to get a hot title on Libby as an ebook, and you've got a really long wait. The investment in our digital collection is going to do a lot to improve that as your kind of patron user experience for next year. The Creative Lab, has anybody used the Creative Lab here at Maine before? There's some really cool stuff, 3D printing. If you didn't know, you have access for free to a 3D, to do one 3D print every single month for free. Yeah, we do classes every Friday. You can log on to sign up for those classes. You can also go onto our website to reserve a time to use any of our machines in our Creative Lab up on the first floor. All you gotta do is just walk out to the back. Our cry cut machine, if you're into scrapbooking, a sound booth, if you're a musician, sewing and embroidery machines, as well as you can do vinyl stickers and large format printing. There's certain numbers that are free, and then after that, it's a really, really low affordable cost. Hear Utah Music. Has anybody heard of this before? this was as a returner to Salt Lake City. I thought this was such a cool thing that the library does. So we have a curated panel of local musicians that hand select, musicians submit, and this panel selects local Utah music that we stream online for free. It's over 100 albums of local musicians, every single genre under the sun that you could imagine. Again, free. And if you're a library card holder, you can also download those albums to your devices for free as well. And then the Super Summer Challenge. Every library, most libraries have some kind of summer reading program. Ours is for all ages. If you've heard of kind of the summer slide, kids, school-age kids especially that are not actively reading in the summer, you really see a dip in their reading comprehension over the summer. And so this is just a way for us to really encourage active reading for people of all ages. Our Super Summer Challenge is for pre-readers as well as grade school age kids, and adults can participate in this too. It can help with focus, strengthening vocabulary and comprehension, and you can win prizes. Just show of hands again, has anybody done the Super Summer Challenge before? No? What? Sign up this year. You can sign up beginning June 1st. Again, it's for every single age. And it's just 20 minutes a day. You read, we give you a tracker and you get to mark it off. We have prizes associated. You can get a prize mid-year, and then you can get a prize at the end of the year. It's not just books. There's a couple other prizes as well. And we do kind of you can get entered into a drawing if you complete your tracker. And there's actually some really nice kind of grand prizes for the winners of that raffle at the end as well. So pick up your tracker June 1st. It runs through August 3rd. It's great. We give you a lot of ideas if you have kids that are pre-readers on how to engage them in story time. For kids, it's a great way to continue to read and be motivated to read, but also for adults. It's really fun. So sign up on June 1st here at your main library, but also anywhere else throughout the system. Just a couple pieces of I'd like to say around kind of our next chapter. Because you all are familiar with this branch, you all know, this library system is not your grandmother's library system. We're doing a lot of cool stuff throughout the city to be able to really address what are the changing needs of our community around access to opportunity and information. And so I'm really excited to think about what that next chapter looks like. We are going to be talking with our residents, with you all, as we begin to, I imagine in about a year, we're going to be engaging in the strategic planning process, really together to be exploring what that next chapter looks like. Part of that is our library's facilities plan. If you know, this branch is our Day Riverside branch. It's getting a little bit older and it's a little bit small for that growing community. So we do have some plans that we're rolling out as we think long-term about care for our facilities. This branch or this main library, even though it's only 20 years old, there are some places even that it's feeling a little bit of wear and tear in addition to the roof. And so we're really trying to be attentive to, given the future uses of libraries, how can we really attend to making them useful spaces and just caring for them long term. And again, this is kind of what we're going to be doing moving forward, deepening our community relationships and partnerships. I really believe the library system, probably more than any other system, because of how trusted we are, we have the unique opportunity of playing a connective role, right? Connecting people across demographic lines, socioeconomic lines, ideological lines. You all may know this, but when this building was built, the tagline for the main library was "Democracy starts here." I think libraries for a thriving democracy and a thriving city, it's really going to depend on having a thriving library. So I'm really excited for that role moving forward of us playing a connective role in the city. That's about it. That's my contact information. I probably have gone over time.
One question.
Sorry.
If anyone has a question from now on.
All right.
The one question. Okay.
I'll hang out. If you have questions, you can,
Do you want this back now?
you can use it, you can use it.
Yeah, for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, you can borrow it.
Okay, thanks, Noah. Okay, so next up, we've got Ronnie, who is from the Parks Department, and she's been working on the redesign of the Liberty Park playground. So they're gonna completely redo that playground that's on the northwest corner of the park, that children's playground. So Ronnie, if you wanna share your screen, it'll show up on the big projector.
Awesome. Well, I have a partner with me today, so she'll be doing the majority of the talking. But just to quickly lay some things out, as far as the Liberty Play Park goes, this project started in the spring of 2023, where we had some great engagement last summer, various forms of engagement. If you're curious about it, it's in the website. You can look at the report. So I'm not going to dive too much into it because I really want Megan to dive into all of her great design alternatives. I recently got Dig Studios on board with this project, and so we've been working really hard to deliver this, and it's finally here. So with that being said, I'm going to pass the baton off to Megan, who will talk about the designs.
Thanks, Ronnie. And here's a map of where we are within Liberty Park. As Ronnie mentioned, Dig Studios is new to this process, but I know you all are not. So we'll go through this. We'll really focus on the design concepts. I'll just note, I grew up in Salt Lake as well. Sounds like a similar path as yours, Noah. We're based here in Denver, but we're certainly not new to Salt Lake either. We just completed the Main Street pedestrian promenade study with the city and Austin, and I'm a Salt Lake native, and it is not lost on me just how important this park is, and it's truly a real privilege to get to work on this. So based on all of the outreach that Ronnie and her team led over the last 9 months, we really established these handful of kind of critical elements that need to be incorporated into this playground. These sound very abstract, but we have a lot to work with. There's just a ton of data that we have had to draw from to develop these concepts. So these are by no means pulled out of thin air, and we just want to thank you for your feedback and those who've participated to date. One thing that's important when we look at sites like this, we've got a lot of experience working within large scale and historic park spaces, is context.
Megan, sorry to interrupt. The slides aren't moving. If you think they're moving, they're not on our.
Oh no, not yet. Here they are though. Thanks, Austin. You should be looking at 3 pictures from the park, the 7 canyons, the aviary, and the mill. Is that right? No?
Oh, we're just seeing the first one.
Oh, all right. Thanks.
But your mouse is whoever's
okay.
listening.
Here we go. Thanks, Austin. Let me slide here. Bear with me. Here we go. So here we are within the park site, just as Austin mentioned, the northwest corner of the park space. And here you can kind of see some of those key components to the plan. We really want to do the best we can to contextualize this within Liberty Park. As I said, this is something that's pretty important, in particular when working within historic park spaces, which we certainly are here at Liberty, that we really try to draw inspiration from the history of the park itself and the spaces within, so that this feels like a holistic park experience. Unlike a lot of smaller neighborhood parks, Liberty Park really is a regional destination. While it certainly is that neighborhood park for so many families like yours, we also know folks come from far and wide to spend an entire day here. And so this is an opportunity to better link some of the spaces within the park. So we've developed 3 concepts that really build upon what's out there. There's a lot of great spaces. So the 7 Canyons art feature, which highlights the watersheds of the Wasatch Front, the former zoo and now aviary, is certainly a key driver and draw within the park space. And within that site, the historic Isaac Chase Mill actually predates the park itself, and is a great storytelling opportunity as well. So the concepts that we've drawn from each one of these really run the gamut of different types of park experiences, while still delivering those sort of key 7 measures for success that grew out of the first round of outreach. And each of these really use a lot of the imagery that was most preferred from those surveys. So the first concept, the Wonders of the Wasatch, builds upon the Seven Canyons feature, but looks beyond the watersheds and really highlights the different ecozones and ecotones and ecosystems within the Wasatch Front, and creates kind of a hyper nature experience for those who may not always be able to get out to the mountains or the plains. So a lot to build on there. The Birdtopia concept is fairly self-explanatory. There's nothing more fun than thinking about how we can interface birds, animals, and play. And the Goofy Grain House draws upon the history and legacy of the mill, but really pushes the envelope a little bit on silliness, which we're pretty excited about, so that we can really make this feel distinct. As a regional playground, we do want to just note, this cannot feel like any other playground in the world. This has to be so special and so unique to Salt Lake City, and so that's really a foundational component to this process. So as we look at this Wonders of the Wasatch plan, here we go. We start with a Mountain Peaks climbing tower. So this, and I should have noted, the history of this playground is rooted in inclusion and accessibility. This is an all ages and abilities playground. When the Rotary Club helped to fund, and Salt Lake City Parks established this playground initially in 2002, it was built on the legacy of the Paralympics. And so every single element that you see within this has been very strategically identified as an opportunity to bring really specialized play experiences to users of all abilities. So that Mountain Peaks climbing tower takes advantage of existing grade to get kids up high, and create and really feel like you're up in the peaks, while still climbing and sliding, and even extending into these river rapids climbing mounds that you see here. We've got a central shade feature. We know shade is lacking within the playground itself. There's so many dreamy trees nearby, but really it's a toasty space in the middle of the summer. The water feature that's there, we are planning to reincorporate and potentially enhance with some new features, and certainly reducing water use is going to be a key component to that, which we have some strategies for. As we look to the north, the meadow maze, and we've also incorporated a sensory exploration garden. Those really are very, very natural spaces that again bring the different ecozones of the Wasatch Front to front row center to kids of all ages and sizes. We've got a double zip line. You'll see some version of a zip line in every one of these because it was so wanted from the public. We're also expanding the accessibility of the existing swing bays. So there will be a number of different types of inclusive swings incorporated into what's there now. And we've got a story time room. We know this is a space for families and small picnics, but it's also a place for classes and field trips and potentially performances and poetry readings. And so you'll see a version of this incorporated into every concept. And finally, and then as we get to the east side of this concept, a game room and hammock grove or swing grove really is maybe more of a place for the older kids to hang out. This is an all ages and all abilities playground, so it's not lost on us that we want to have a space where teenagers and the middle school crowd still feels like this playground's very much for them. And lastly, as we head to the southeast, the existing sand features are a great opportunity, certainly bring a special type of play experience, but right now the accessible sand and non-accessible sand are very segregated. There's an opportunity here to make those much more integrated and potentially bring water into that sand and loose parts experience. So here, we really want to let kids get dirty, get messy, get creative, and bring that experience of being out in nature into the city. So the next concept, Birdtopia, again, really builds upon the aviary. We start with kind of a progression from the burrow through the clouds up into the sky, and you'll see that within these spaces. So we've incorporated into some of the existing grades a small embankment slide. The smaller classroom space here is we've dubbed the learning burrow. So also a space to have some of those larger group gatherings, the poetry reading, the field trip, but also kind of a living laboratory for nest building and fort building and you name it. As we head through the clouds, so to speak, one opportunity within the existing water feature, we can incorporate mist using a control system to actually reduce the total water use, but have a much broader impact on the cooling opportunities of that water. So in this concept, we really lean into the mist and fog experience to let kids actually, or folks of all ages, come through the clouds. As you come through that cloud progression, the primary climbing feature here is actually a circular ramp that brings you up to over 12 feet tall, over 12 feet up in the air for a very cool, very big tube slide. And again, this is fully accessible and really not just meant to be for young kids who want to go down a tube slide, but people of all ages who just want to get up into the canopy of the trees. And in fact, once up there, we've also brought some of the existing instruments that are so beloved up into that higher level so that we can have kind of a song perch, we've dubbed it, so that there is a destination again for the older, or less slide inclined users, but also those who may not physically be able to use that tube slide. There is a really incredible destination at the top of this feature. Again, we've got a version of a zip line here, and this concept, it's a track ride that is a little bit more inclusive than the typical zip lines you see today. Something we're really excited to explore. And we're hoping to repurpose some of the existing smaller swing bays, which right now kind of segregate the inclusive swings from the standard swings. In all of these concepts, we hope to bring those together. That's just best practices. But once we open up some of those smaller swing bays, we can bring in some of these special swings for social uses or kind of new ways to climb and gather. Lastly, here you also see a sand component. In this case, using a more typical sand table as our accessible sand play intervention, but again, making that accessible sand table and the at grade sand one and the same. We're not separating them. Finally, this concept has a wiggle walk. These we've incorporated into park spaces in the past, and they are so much fun. They're great for kids in wheelchairs, moms with strollers, dads with strollers, kids with Strider bikes, you name it. They're just fun to just run up and down whenever you need a little bit of a rush. So we see that in that concept. Lastly, our goofy grain house, as I said, is maybe our silliest concept. The reason for this, first of all, we had a lot of great stories to work with, but mill agriculture and food processing based play really has had a bit of a renaissance in playground design in recent years, because there's just so many great elements, and you'll see many of those incorporated here. The distinction we want to make here again is that we don't want this to feel like any playground anywhere else in the world. So you'll see some more out of the box play elements in here. The first space, again, we're looking at food production and the milling processes at the heart of this space, but we want to start with an ancestral agriculture play garden. So this is an opportunity to acknowledge the ancestral stewards of the land, those who initially farmed the Wasatch Front and Salt Lake Valley, with a bean climber, popcorn trampolines, and even a maze. As you continue into the playground, the larger climbing feature in this space really is a bit of a grain elevator. We can use some of that architectural language that feels a little more industrial to shape that fully accessible ramp to bring folks again, regardless of ability, up to that high elevation. And we've got multiple slide options for folks, depending on what their appetites are. We've had some fun getting into the weeds on different types of grist mills. The Isaac Chase Mill is a grist mill, and and there are a variety of different millstone patterns, each pattern serving a different role, whether they were grinding corn, barley, wheat. And this is an opportunity to maybe be a little bit educational while still abstracting some of these great round forms that you see. Oops, and bringing them into carousels and springer boards and actually having a millstone garden. We hope we can build upon the notion of a flower scale and actually bring a seesaw. These larger seesaws are great because lots of kids can play on them at once. They're a very social element, and they can be easily accessed for those coming on and off of a wheelchair. The central gathering element within this space actually takes its silhouette from the Isaac Chase Mill. So for those who are familiar with it, you might recognize that form a little bit. In this case, it's a larger built structure that does provide shade, potentially could incorporate water. So bringing that splash pad actually up to the edge or even into that structure, as well as maybe some climbing vines and some softer, more landscape-based edges. But this is a larger scale pavilion that could, again, meet the need of the class field trip scale event. And these are our silly mounds, we've called them. The image you see on the top left is from a park that we built here in Denver called Paco Sanchez Park. We work with local makers here who can actually really create just about anything we or neighborhoods or kids can possibly imagine to climb on, sit on, and they are very comfortable. They don't hold heat, and would love to explore potentially using that material to, again, speak to the mill history, potentially with a toast tunnel, some toast boards, and even a mouse who might be trying to steal some of the bread. Again, these farm and agriculture-based themes have a lot to work with in terms of different types of material experiences. So the water wheel, the water trough, and the sluice gates, these we've seen be tremendously successful for kids of all ages. And so really can help reinforce the learning component of this theme.
Hey, Ronnie and Megan, sorry to cut you guys off. We're gonna have to cut it here just to give, because we're at 7:30, we need to give a few minutes to Ava, if that's okay, but do you have any?
We're actually done.
Okay, perfect.
So, nailed it.
Okay, so it sounds like we're gonna give some feedback, right, on these 3 designs.
Yes, so the survey is live as of today. I'm sorry, I can pull up the QR code, or maybe we can ask to send it out. I should have put it on a slide here. We would love responses to the survey. Ronnie, do you want to speak more to the process from here?
Yeah, so the survey's open for just this month, and you can find it on the project website. You can also find it on the social media. We really need your feedback in order to move forward on this, and we'll be breaking ground in 2025. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thanks, Ronnie. Yeah, we'll give you guys a ton of feedback. Let me stop this. Okay. All right, thank you. You need.
Well, wasn't that exciting, that park presentation? We're getting upgrades in Liberty Park. Very excited. I don't want to take up too much time, and thank you for your patience. Today's been a busy day. I've given the regular update. There hasn't been too much happening because we're preparing for budget season. So please stay involved. May 7th, the mayor, excuse me, is going to reveal her budget to us in the public. So that's very exciting. I've been flagging just different budget line items as they come up. So be prepared for that. But today I want to talk to you about Senate Bill 272. You may know it as the NHL bill. And what it does is it creates a capital revitalization zone. So again, this bill is going to force City Council to take some tentative action. When I say force, it means it's starting a process where we as constituents are going to help determine homelessness mitigation plans, parking mitigation plans, as well as some other points in this. So this is just some future dates that are tentative right now in council action. May 7th, we'll have our follow-up briefing. If you're able to log on or if you're able to join to listen, this is a great opportunity to learn more about the mitigation plans in direct correlation to the new Delta Center expansion. So what's happening is the Delta Center is being looked at for adaptive reuse to reconstruct and take two sides of it and extend it so we can fit a full-length NHL stadium. So it'll go from 20,000 seated arena placements to 27,000 seated arena placements in the downtown. As well as on May 21st, we'll have the public hearing, and that is going to outline our agreement. We don't currently have an agreement, so we've got lots of grammar requests. And what people want to know, what lots of neighbors want to know is what's in this agreement. We don't have them. We don't have them. It's being negotiated right now. So unfortunately, until that negotiation is complete, we won't have that out in the public. Smith Entertainment Group, SEG Group, has been, I think they're trying to act in good faith. We know that they tend to reveal things last minute to us. And so that's why I'm coming to you all to bring this, to make sure that I get your input and that we can carry it out, because right now, not everyone's persuaded that we need a 0.5% sales tax increase. I'll tell you this though, and I'm gonna write an op-ed so it doesn't catch you by surprise. There's a few different perspectives on it. This is mine, and you're welcome to challenge me on it. And I welcome this input. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Right now, the challenge is if we don't allow it, then the Delta Center is likely to leave with the teams. That's what we're up against right now. So that's been made very clear to us. You may read that in the news that there's a plan A that we want the Jazz and the NHL to stay downtown. But there's plan B and C that's been mentioned, which are very apparent to us. If you drive down to the point of the mountain, you'll find 130 plus acres of free land, and that is owned by SEG Group also. So yeah, I mean, that doesn't mean you do it without, right? Like the strategy is the mitigation plan. There's some really great investment in infrastructure that's desperately needed in a growing downtown. So I want you to think about increase of usage. I want you to think about how it benefits your community and let me know. I want you to think about homelessness mitigation, which is a huge one to me. Luckily, we've extended the dates of our sanctioned camp, so we're not seeing that surplus that usually by now when temperatures warm, we see more folks in need of medical services, in need of hospitality, right, of bed space. We don't see that now. So there's funding that can come from this increase that will affect your neighborhoods. And most importantly to me is to draw a boundary. We haven't articulated yet where this boundary is, but according to Senate Bill 272, we have the ample opportunity to draw a boundary where the sales tax will be spent in increment. And it's up to any area that calculates 100-mile perimeter around the building. That doesn't mean we'll approve that. I have colleagues right now that are saying we just draw the boundary around the Delta Center in Japantown. I have colleagues that agree with me that maybe we should look at blighted areas in the city that need help, that have the most impact of homelessness, traffic, of individuals coming to visit. That's all infrastructure usage that Salt Lakers pay for. No one else pays for it. They come and visit. Road usage, utilities. So we need to consider all this type of update that we see in the city. And then the final date is July 2nd. Keep that, mark that on your calendar. All right, July 2nd, then July 4th, we can celebrate Independence Day. That's when we're expected to approve that. So right now, all council members have hinted that there is good support for this, for the reasons that I bring to you. I want to open it up. I know this is vague, and that's because this is as much as I know as well. Unfortunately, it isn't. Go ahead, Lynn.
So in general, my understanding is that the research over the past half century has been that stadiums aren't actually supported with downtown economies. That these stadium owners basically try and build cities with the assumption that, you know, oh, there's going to be so many benefits, you need to give us everything, or else we. And ultimately, what's been found is it rarely actually covers itself in terms of like benefits. So I hear like, yes, there could be is lead to go down to the point. And I am wondering, why don't we just let them? Right?
Because one Delta Center event per night creates $1.2 million of sales tax revenue as is. So to lose them is to lose 144 active days plus the NHL will bring another, I think it was another a month and a half of season. We lose more than we, does that make right? So if they go away, we lose a majority of our sales tax income. And this is truly a catalyst to make reparations for Japantown, something that you never see cities have the opportunity to do. The only reason the city can even say the word Japantown and mean it, and constructively point to the RDA and say we want this project and investment, is because of NHL moving in North City's downtown. As well as the county looking at articulating its land. We have a giant black hole right now in the center of downtown, folks. You cannot walk across the convention center. It's not an active community space. And for the first time in over 50 years, we get to articulate and rebuild our downtown. And if you talk to SCGB, that's their true vision. I do think in good conscience that that's a vision. It's our job as residents, as neighbors, as government leaders to point them to make sure that we put the guardrails tight so that they don't move away from that vision. So I feel strongly about this. I'm not here to lie to you. I feel very strongly that if we lose them, we cannot make up that sales tax increment in a decade. And we lose more than we will ever be able to gain back. We're not seeing that type of investment financing. We're not going to be able to attract enough housing in the downtown to recuperate that sales tax increment. So to me, this is dire. A city of our size and with the growth that we're expecting should have a surplus from both property tax and sales tax. We err on the side of sales tax currently, which means we need a healthy budget that promotes sales tax. Please go.
Thanks, Eva. My thought on this is I'm not gonna focus on the sport. I'm just gonna focus on like an idea for the money. So one concern I have is depending on where the boundaries are and the amount of money, you know, there's only so much money to spend. And my concern is if they want to get certain blight out of that area and then it ends up creating more blight elsewhere. And just a thought I have, and it's not baked or anything, it's just a quick thought is, would it be great if like the homelessness problem, the people with drug addiction stuff, if a lot of that money could be focused on, you know, getting them inside somewhere, so they're not just moves, they don't end up just moving into other neighborhoods, that they get a better way of life, and then it's better for the whole community too.
Yeah, the hope is that that increment that goes into the mitigation plan, the city gets to actually create the mitigation plan. We also get to create the parking plan. So we get to outline that. Again, we have it because we can't begin to outline our agreement plan, right? We need to see what they propose as part of the negotiation with our attorneys back and forth. This is part of the collective, I think, voice that we can bring, saying if we're gonna pool this money, if we feel that there's more to lose, then we have the opportunity. The other side of the coin is, right, then how do we, especially as the neighbors that are most adjacent to downtown, besides those that live in high rises or rent or, you know, materialize around, how do we help improve the conditions within a homeless situation? And so that's what I ask of each of you, to please think about that thoughtfully. What does that look like for your neighborhood, for your street? And to provide that input, because that's something we can include in our agreement. Yeah.
You know, I understand how complicated this is and why, as an elected official, you would be inclined to work on an agreement to keep them here. But I also appreciate how sensitive you've been to business people. And as a business person with 2 buildings, I don't outfit 1 kitchen. I might outfit 2 or 3 kitchens a year. And I am not shopping in Salt Lake for high price to pay items. It would affect car purchases. It would, for everything, it would affect appliance purchases for me. I simply would ask my contact, my rep, at the place I use now, to set things up outside the increment zone.
Sure.
And so I'm gonna do everything I can to bypass this, because what you're talking about, if I make a profit, that's the kind of margin I make. If I make a profit, it's that time. So there's no way I'm gonna keep shopping in Salt Lake for big big ticket items. And I think the city council needs to understand that.
Sure.
I'm walking if the item, I might even shop for groceries outside of the tax area, but definitely on the big ticket items, I'm gone. As a purchaser, just gone. I've already figured that that's what I have to do. So that's the impact of Salt Lake, and it's probably not significant to Salt Lake City government. It's going to be really significant to people I've been purchasing.
Sure. I appreciate that. I think when we talk about food effects and what it's meant to procure for us as citizens, right? What's the net benefit? This is as close as we get to tax overlay. Every tax overlay that the city wants has to be written by the state, and it has to be procured, the state has to allow us. There's beyond sensitivity of raising the sales tax increment. Something that is important to know that our attorney's office has looked at and verified. The bill does state half for their expense, so it's not 100% of the sales tax goes to them. It's a limited amount, and anything beyond that cap is actually, at least the last legal calculus that I was told is that the city would keep that sales tax revenue to promote in other ways.
That's what I want to keep.
Correct. I understand completely that.
I'm trying to keep my units at 80% or less of AMR.
For sure. I think the world, and I don't want to promote a miscalculus of mine or hypotheses, but it's my understanding if we lose them, again, we have to go back the next year and go, our budget's in a decrease. Property taxes are where we make up the strong. So sales tax is seen as this malleable tax ability so that people can choose. It's not isolated for property. But we can talk more. This is dense, I'm not a tax attorney, but I do want everyone here to read this, to be thoughtful, and hopefully come with more questions, please. I'm happy to do deeper. Again, this isn't about the sport or being a sport fanatic. What it can be or what it can do can help, or you know, maybe I'm the sole supporter for all I know. My council members decided to vote it down. What does that reimagine our downtown?
We're gonna have to cut it off here, just because we're already 15 minutes past. If you guys want to talk with Ava after, you should absolutely do that. We have a promise of a 30-second announcement, and then we'll be totally done.
Yes, I will be fast because I know y'all are over time. Hi, my name is Natalie Pinckney. I currently am on the South Salt Lake City Council, and I'm here tonight because I'm running to be the Democratic nominee for Salt Lake County Council. Jim Bradley, who's been there for over 24 years, has decided to step down and retire, and this is the open seat. I just got first place out of the Democratic Convention last month at 51%, but we're headed to a runoff primary, and I'm running on financial empowerment and affordability. I opened up a financial empowerment center in the thick of COVID when we were having a financial crisis with Mountain America Credit Union, aimed at helping out everyone, no matter their neighborhood, make sure that they can thrive for the future and get into generational wealth instead of generational poverty. You can learn more about me at electnatalie.com. My last name is Pinckney, pink like the color, me like the body part. If you type it in like that, you'll find me. I promise that's how I learned how to say it myself. And I hope to have your support, and thank you so much for letting me speak.
Thanks. Go talk to Natalie. Thank you. Yeah.
Also got a label in there.
Yes,
It says
thank you.
I know, we need an end.